When most people think of software development, they think they need to do a lot of complex math just to make things work. While that's not true in most cases, you do need to know how to work with numbers to do the basic stuff. Don't worry, it's all simple. Let me show you what you'll need to know. Before we get started, if you find this video useful or if you have any questions, I would love to hang out with you. I stream on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can also find me on Discord. The links for those are in the description down below. Now then, basically, if you know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide, you already know 95% of what you need to know to make software. It looks basically the same as what you would expect it to as well. For example, let's take the variable math problem equals 1 plus 3 times 2 divided by 4. The result will be 2.5, just like you would get back from a calculator. This is because JavaScript uses the pemdas order of operations. Pemdas is short for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. This means that everything contained within the parentheses will be evaluated first, then the exponents, and so on. If you want to have more control over your math, you can do so by adding parentheses where needed. For example, if we need 1 plus 3 to be added together first, we can just change our variable to math problem equals parentheses 1 plus 3 close parentheses times 2 divided by 4. Because we've added parentheses, we've also changed how the problem will be evaluated, and the new result will be 2. This is most of what you need to know to work with numbers directly. The last math operator you need to be aware of is the modulus operator. The modulus operator, indicated by the percent sign, works in the same way as division, but the result will only give you the remainder of the division. For example, 3 modulus 2 will give you 1, because 2 goes into 3 once, with 1 left over. 5 modulus 3 will give you 2, because 3 goes into 5 once, with 2 left over. And finally, 4 modulus 2 will give you 0, because 2 goes into 4 twice, with nothing left over. It's also worth pointing out that modulus can be shortened to simply mod. So for example, 3 mod 2 is the same thing as saying 3 modulus 2. Just a moment ago, I said that this is what you needed to know to work with numbers directly. You can also use number variables in math problems. For example, let's say we have 2 number variables named x and y, and if you want to run them against an equation, you would simply do something like this. Math problem equals 1 plus x times 2 divided by y. Now, whatever number values you have for x and y will be placed into the equation. Of course, your variable names don't need to be x and y if you're doing math. They can be any valid variable names. I simply used x and y as examples. You can also update an existing number variable by doing math on it. For example, if you had a variable named counter and you wanted to increase it by 1 every time a specific thing happened, you could do this in one of 3 ways. First, you could state counter equals counter plus 1. This probably looks confusing, so let me explain. There are two things happening here. First, we are saying we want to give the counter variable a new value, as shown here. Next, we're saying that we want the new value to be the current value of the counter variable plus 1, as shown here. You don't need to add only 1 with this method, however. If you said counter equals counter plus 5, the counter variable would go up by 5 instead. Next, you could use counter plus equals 1. This method is shorthand for counter equals counter plus 1, but the benefit is that you can change the 1 to anything you like, and the variable will increment by that amount. For example, counter plus equals 5 is the same thing as counter equals counter plus 5. Finally, you could use counter plus plus. This method is shorthand for counter equals counter plus 1. And you will see this a lot whenever we cover loops. Conversely, you can decrease the counter variable by 1 by saying counter minus minus. To be clear, counter plus plus and counter minus minus will only increase or decrease the counter variable by 1. If you need to use different increments, use one of the other two methods I've just mentioned. Again, the variable name of counter is just an example. This will work with any valid variable name. It's also worth pointing out that these methods will work with more than just addition. Especially with the first method, you can use any operation you like. So counter equals counter minus 1, and counter equals counter times 2, and so on will work just fine. I simply used addition in the examples because that has been the most frequent use case in my own experience. And that just about covers the basics of how to work with numbers in JavaScript. In the next video, we'll talk about how to change how your program works under different conditions using if-else statements. If you found this video useful, like and subscribe so you can be notified of future videos. If you have any questions about anything covered in this video, feel free to catch me on Twitch or Discord, or just leave your question in the comments. Thanks for watching, and stay awesome.